Hey folks, Jeff here, back on the build. So today is effectively the 10th day of working on this build. So even though it's not 10 days straight, we had to go back to the city for a few days, and then we got some bunch of rain, and so it has literally been pretty much, let's see, we left Tuesday morning, today is Monday. It has been exactly a week, I guess, and we're trying to get back on the job. So if you've been following along, you know that we had a change of plan. When I say change of plan, we're talking about engineering plan. And that's based on the fact that our slab was 4 inches short. Just an error that we made reading the plans and missed a little detail. So in order to compensate for that, we had to do some shifting of purlins and things like that, 4 inches, and that means that we've got to drill a bunch of holes. So in order to drill a bunch of holes, we've purchased a magnetic drill, and we're using an annular cutting tool to drill holes. I just got started on this thing and got up there, and unfortunately we've got a challenge. There's places where the drill just doesn't fit. The purlins are too close together, whatever, and the the drill will not fit into the space and allow us to line up the bit using the annular cutter. Now I'm thinking out loud here, I'll have to check it out, but I may be able to switch over to a chuck with a longer drill bit, and maybe that'll allow us to get in there. We'll check that. Regardless, we're going to need to do some with a regular bit, and I don't have a 5/8 drill bit on hand. So now we're going to have to run to town to get a 5/8 drill bit, and of course we can't just run to town without doing other stuff. So we've got fuel cans to fill up and things like that. So it looks like we're going to have to stop work, go to town, and we'll fill fuel cans and get a drill bit at a minimum, and we'll think this through. But worst case scenario, a few holes we're gonna have to drill by hand, because right now the way it's working out is I'm averaging 1 or less holes per purlin that I can get to. Now I've only tried on 3 purlins. 1 purlin I couldn't get either hole. Another purlin I got 1 hole, and then the other purlin I got 1 hole. So yeah, the other challenge is that the purlins are not thick enough. The magnet on the drill requires thicker steel to hold to. So what I've been doing is taking a steel plate, putting that on the back side, and then turning the magnet on. And of course that drill's 26 pounds, so holding all that exact position, turning the magnet on and everything, that's a challenge by itself. But we are getting it. Of course, then you turn the magnet off, it releases everything. My steel plate fell to the ground, put a chip in the concrete. Lorena's not happy about that, but it is what it is. And yeah, so there are no easy ways, but we're gonna roll with it. We will get it done. And first thing we're gonna do is go to town and get some new drill bits, so that we can at least attempt this and come up with some different ways to get it done. So that's where we're at. Stick with us.
It's good exercise. Right, Whiskey? Whiskey. Show him it's a good exercise. It's a good exercise. You can do it. There you go. Just at the beginning it's hard, but then
you have to apply force.
Whiskey, it's okay. It's okay. He's safe up there. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, folks, it's day 11 of our build. Unfortunately, day 10 was pretty much a wash. We really did not accomplish very much. So we set out to drill holes in the roof purlins to account for the 4-inch change of plan. And as we began attempting to drill, we used the magnetic drill. We had a little bit of a learning curve there. And unfortunately, it was a little bit too big and bulky to get into all the spaces. So we were able to use it on about half of the holes. And then we had to stop what we were doing, go to town, and purchase some drill bits so that we could use the hand drill on the other ones. Now, the hand drilling was a little bit easier than we thought it would be, mainly because we're drilling through a 1/4-inch steel tab that already has a hole in it, and that worked as a guide to then drill through the purlin. And the purlins, I don't know what gauge. I think they're 16 gauge if I remember correctly. Could be 12 gauge, but depends on the piece. Anyway, it drilled fairly easy, but still required, you know, a lot of pressure, etc., as drilling steel does. And so drilling those holes definitely could wear you out. So anyway, we were able to drill all the holes for the tabs on the rafter. So that's all good to go now. Now today we've got to drill some holes on the back side of the purlins to install the angle bracing. So that's what we've got to start on today. And I expect it'll be just as challenging. Let me show you what we're talking about here. Okay, so if you look up and you see the purlins up there, you see those angle braces that come across, and they only skip one purlin, and then the rest of them all have them. So one purlin on each side. So anyway, that's what we've got to do, is come out on that angle bracing and drill our holes that are going to basically be 4 inches off of the last holes on there. So we'll get those holes drilled, get that angle bracing installed, and then we're finished, I hope, with the things that we had to do for the change of plan. Once we get that finished, then we're going to start to get together all the parts and pieces for this last section. I know that I've got the columns and half of the rafter pre-staged over to the side. I do have to weld one of the eaves still, so probably what I'll do is once we're done with those holes and everything, I'll go ahead and get set up and get my welding done. And once we get that other eave all welded up, and the first eave that I welded up, I need to do some additional work on that with some strapping and whatnot. Finish welding that, and then those will be ready to go. So once the eaves are ready, then we'll put up the columns, and then we'll have to put up the rafter. So I think we'll probably try to prep for all that today. and then tomorrow will be the day we actually erect it. Mainly because once we start erecting that, we really need to get the whole thing done, especially with this back section. So this back section, there are no wall girts or anything. So because there are no wall girts, the only thing tying them together from the side is the one eave strut. So if we put those up with just an eave strut, then I'll also need to do temporary bracing and everything, which I'd rather not do. So I want to be able to get that all up in one day, which means I really need to start in the morning working on it and not stop until it's done. And to get it done, I mean, I don't have to do the entire thing. What I do have to do is get the columns up, tie those columns into the main structure with the eave strut. That ties one side. Then I've got to put the rafters up. That ties them together side to side, but that rafter has to be tied into the main building with purlins, otherwise it's got a lot of swing on it. So then we usually try to put on at least 2 purlins. And so if you look up there, those center 2 purlins that are only you know, about 1.5 feet apart, we usually try to get those 2 purlins on, because that then ties in the center of that rafter and basically stands it straight up. Otherwise it's leaning one side or the other way out. It needs that support. So we've got to get the center support on it with those 2 purlins, and we'll get a little bit of outside support with the eave strut. So if you look at this side, these bottom 2 horizontal pieces are your girts, and then if we go up to the very top, that piece up there is the eave strut. And so we want to get the new eave strut on that will tie to that corner right there, and then stretch out about 20 feet, 20 foot 4 inches actually, because of the increase. And we'll tie that in to give, you know, support, or tie it to the main building from that point. And then we'll need to get all those other purlins up as well, tying that in, and then angle braces and all that kind of stuff. So that's like the biggest section that we still got to do, and the heaviest lifting. So we'll want to, like I say, get that done in one day, so that if the wind kicks up or anything else, once it's tied in, it can support itself and it'll be fine. But if we don't get it all tied in and everything, then literally a good windstorm could knock it down, and we don't want that. Once that's done, then I guess we'll start on this end wall. This end wall is going to have 2 C-purlin uprights, and then everything will tie together with girts. So I do not know. I'd have to look at the plans to see if there's any cable bracing in this end. I don't think there is, but anything is possible. I've decided to wait on that other end to put that cable bracing in, mainly because that's more of a simpler, it's monotonous, but it's a simpler task. I don't necessarily have to have Lorena here to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and push that off and focus on the stuff that's more heavy lifting, because I definitely need 2 people here to do all the stuff on this end, especially where I require 1 person to operate the forklift. What we were doing before, when we put up these rafters, is we bolted them together and everything, lifted them up with the telehandler, got one side into position close enough to where you could stick a spud in it, and then get some bolts in it. And we were rolling the scaffolding little brain loss there. We were rolling the scaffolding to the position, and then climbing the scaffolding and using that to get the bolts in and locked together. because the forklift is tied up holding up the rafter. So the problem is out here, this is pretty soft, muddy, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's packed because we've been driving over it, but it's still mud right now and it's rough. And I'm not sure that it would be very easy to roll the scaffolding out there, and of course it's not level. So what we came up with is, it was actually Lorena's idea. She said, why don't we use the tractor, and that she would lift me up in the bucket of the tractor to get to those bolts. And I thought that was a great idea. I don't know why we didn't think of it before. I guess we needed Lorena. But anyway, so I think that's probably what we'll do, is bring the tractor over, and you know, we'll get everything into position, park the telehandler, set the brakes, etc., lock it in, and then she'll jump out of the telehandler and jump into the tractor. I'll get in the bucket of the tractor, and she'll raise me up to the corner of the column slash rafter, and I'll be able to get the bolts in that and get it together, and then we'll move to the other side, make any adjustments we need to the telehandler, and do the exact same thing. So that's the plan. Hopefully that will be tomorrow. Like I say, today we're gonna finish up drilling these holes, getting angle bracing on this end, and do some welding, and then hopefully get stuff laid out for tomorrow. Maybe even get the rafter totally laid out and put together. That's always a big help if it's already put together and ready to go. So that's pretty much the plan. Let's see how it goes. All right, so we've been working on this thing pretty much all day. It's just afternoon now, and I went to put some bracing on, and the angle braces are not lining up the way I believe they should. So the hole should be 4 inches off the original hole, and it's 4 1/4. So next thing I did, I checked level on the rafter, and the rafter is out about 1/4 inch. So if you look up there, that's what I'm talking about. It's leaning out about 1/4 inch. So I put that ratchet strap on it, attached it to the back section, loosened the bolts in every one of the purlins, and tried cranking it in, and really made zero progress. So then I went to the other side and loosened all the purlins on that side to give it a little more play back over here on the next rafter. Still no luck. So then I loosened up all the purlins on the outside there and started working on the columns, and I noticed that they were out of level. So then I did the same thing on this side, loosen the 2 girts and the eave, and see, I got a strap over there to try to suck that top in. Well, I just got it to show me level or plumb or whatever. It's straight up and down, right? So that one over there has the cable braces on it, so I tighten the cable brace to work that one in, and that one shows good now. So hopefully when I go back up top, that center will be closer to where it belongs, and I can start putting those angle braces on. I'm not sure they're going to be perfect or not, but I'm trying to get it as close as I can. And of course the other thing is I drilled all those holes yesterday, and now all those holes are just a little bit off, but they're 5/8 holes and they're 1/2 inch bolts, so hopefully we're still good. We'll check them all. If we have to run a hand drill through them just to clean them up a little bit, I guess we can, but hoping we don't have to. So that's where we're at. Now it's time for lunch.